Well, Captain Sir Tom Moore captured all of our hearts with his incredible fundraising feats during lockdown. He even joined us on this show many times over the pandemic as he raised millions for NHS charities together. He was a real light in the darkness, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's such a shame what's happened, isn't it? Because recent controversies around his family have cast a shadow over Captain Sir Tom's legacy. Here's what his daughter, Hannah Ingram Moore, said recently.
We as a family, all we've ever wanted to do was ensure that my father's legacy has the greatest possible positive impact on society, wherever that is. And we felt that we were really close to being able to do it. And that has been taken away.
Well, the television presenter and journalist Georgie Barrett says she feels sorry for Captain Sir Tom's family and his reputation remains intact. But journalist Rebecca Reid thinks the controversies have ruined his legacy. Rebecca, whatever you might think of his family, Captain Sir Tom Moore didn't do anything wrong. He walked around his garden and he raised almost 40 million.
He didn't do anything wrong, but the situation where the NHS needed money from a very old man walking up and down is a travesty. That should never have been the situation. It should be properly funded and properly managed so that money wasn't necessary. And I think there was something always genuinely tragic about the fact that he had lived a long life and he deserved to be sitting there with his feet up and he had to be out there working so hard.
Right, so you think even while he was doing it, you think that what he was doing, there was a question mark over it, not because of his fault, but because it illuminated a problem within our NHS organisation that they should have been providing the money for.
I think it was wildly problematic at the time, and at the time I remember feeling uncomfortable with it. I didn't donate to it, and I personally felt like I could see people in the background enjoying the experience, and there was nothing enjoyable about it. It was a global pandemic, it was a badly run medical institution, and with doctors suffering, and this desire to find some kind of happy, light, silver lining to it really, honestly, was a bit of a fake news thing for me.
It seems to me that the fulcrum, really, on which the resentment, the public resentment, which, as I say, has flowed in this morning from viewers who, once they knew we were doing this item, seems to pivot on the book, that he wrote this book. And a lot of people felt that when they bought the book, all the profits were going to go to the NHS. And they didn't. They went to the family.
I know,
now, the family say that was his wish.
Yes,
they didn't decide that. He left that as his legacy. But that seems to me to be what's causing people anger.
Yes, I understand the optics don't look good, but I think this family honestly had the best intentions. You know, that nearly 39 million that was raised, all of that went to the NHS. And the book money, that was separate. And he wanted that to be the case. You know, if you know you've only got a few years left and you're going to leave behind this family who you're incredibly close to, you want to set them up.
If you think you're flashing your plastic at WH Smith or whatever, and the money's going to the charity or it's going to the NHS, you're going to be a bit cross to find out.
Yes, I definitely think they've made some incorrect decisions along the way, and I think, you know, when they do these interviews, they instead of sort of really saying I'm sorry and sort of wanting to, I don't know, take back some of their actions, they almost slightly dig their heels in. But I just think that's down to them not really knowing how to handle this beast of the media and knowing sometimes how that sort of plays out on you know the screen or when they're doing these interviews.
But Georgie,
I really think they have the best intentions at heart, and I see a family that are struggling with their mental health, who are in tears, who are, you know, torn to pieces by this, and you've got to realise that they were propelled from absolutely nothing into the media spotlight.
But they propelled themselves. They were like, let's brand Grandpa.
I know, but they did it in a way that I would get caught up in that. You know,
you would look at your pensioner grandparent and be like, do you know what? I think we can probably make some dollar if we put him on the front of a book.
You're putting a spin on that says that they were coming from a sort of a slightly in it for them attitude.
But
I think they just realised that, you know, sometimes these things that they capture the nation's imagination and they become a figurehead for something that, you know, we want that sort of one person to represent that, and we build that up. It's not them.
And I think if there had been no book, if the money from the book had gone to the NHS, if there had been no other money going to anyone other than the NHS, fine. But clearly, somebody smart in that family went, we've got something people want to consume here, let's package it and sell it. And I would hire members of that family if I were trying to get branding going, because they did an amazing job.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think people probably feel a bit stupid now.
Well, the thing is that it didn't start out like that. It started out an individual who wanted to raise money.
He wanted to raise £1,000, which is original.
That was the first target, you're right.
And did that. And then we were desperate for role models and heroes at that time, weren't we? So he then captured all of our hearts. We gave him the publicity.
Exactly.
Actually, it wasn't the family, it was we gave him the publicity.
I don't think he did anything with this. I think he just kept walking. But I have visions of him being at home and somebody coming in and being like, Grandpa, on the Zimmer frame, come on, keep going.
No, but that's you projecting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's you thinking that he'd be like that. I think everything about him clearly really enjoyed that, what he did in his final few years.
Like the holiday
And
that
also-
they went on always makes you feel a bit uncomfortable. That big
Also,
family holiday when we're travelling was a bit, you know...
Hannah as well, but Hannah, his daughter, says, you know, while, you know, she accepts that there was a mistake in about the spa building. She says that the money from the book was always intended, that Captain Sir Tom wanted to leave something for his family.
But
and that is reasonable, is it not? It's not, I mean... He raised almost 40 million for the NHS,
he's done his
and that's
bit.
all gone to the NHS charities.
Realistically, nobody was going to be publishing that book had he not done the NHS thing first.
No.
So it's a sort of adjacent.
If your granddad specifically left something to you in their will, I wouldn't say, oh, that has to go to charity now. I understand there's
but if my granddad only had that money
two.
because he'd been raising money for charity...
OK, guys, we're out of time, I'm afraid. But I think what we're really saying is it's about perception, isn't it?
It's about perception, and they just
perceive, wrongly, perhaps, that they've been had, and they don't like that. That's the problem.
And the investigation's ongoing, so we don't know all the details, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Thank you both very much indeed.